Hello folks, Jeff Giles here for the final week. Today I'm going to demonstrate some of the simple controls in Logic Pro's Retro Synth plugin. Now there are 4 types of synthesis available with this plugin, but I'm sticking with analog mode because it's a simple synth like the one in the demonstration video. Now first on to the oscillator waveforms. This synth is different from the lectures in that it allows you to take 2 different oscillator shapes and either select one or the other using this slider or mix the 2 together. This acts like a crossfader. On the first oscillator, we can select noise or a sawtooth or a square. And we can select different pulse widths within that square shape. On the second oscillator, we can, I'm just going to move it down there. On the second oscillator, we can select triangle shape, another sawtooth, or again, a square wave with varying pulse widths. Now, this synth differs from the synth in the videos because you can't select a sine wave by itself, but what you can do is over in the amp section here, there is a sine level knob, and you can mix in a sine wave to your other oscillators. So you can hear that sine wave getting more prominent. Now onto the LFOs. There are 2 LFOs in this synth. One of them strictly controls the vibrato, and in the interest of time, we'll just focus on that. This synth is a little different than the synth in the lecture video because, or at least the display is, because the vibrato amount knob is actually placed in the oscillator section of the display, though its function is the same. Here's our amount knob, and you can select whether there's no vibrato or a very deep vibrato, very shallow vibrato. Now, by default, the vibrato will only engage when you engage the modulation wheel on your MIDI controller. But this slider here, when it's at the top, it means the vibrato will engage when you hit your modulation knob like this. But if we drag the slider down, then the modulation, the vibrato will be engaged even if we don't touch the modulation wheel. Like that. And we can kind of get an in-between as well. And we can also select different shapes for our vibrato. So there's the oscillators. The filter module is similar to the one we saw in the lectures. We can select different types of filters up here. We've got a few different kinds of low-pass filters. We've got a high-pass filter, a band pass, a band reduction filter or notch filter, as well as a peak filter. We're just going to stick with the low-pass right now for the demonstration. And you can change the value of the cutoff by either clicking on the number and dragging and holding and dragging your mouse up and down. That'll change the value. You can also click on the arrows, or you can enter in your numbers manually. My favorite way is just to grab the little orange dot and move it left and right. And our resonance can be controlled. I'll give you a little demonstration actually. Our resonance can be controlled the same way. We can click and drag, or we can use the arrows. We can enter that in manually, and we can also click on this point here and drag the mouse up and down. So we can find interesting or pleasing sounds that way. And I feel like that's the best and most musical way to go about that. And that's just my opinion. As far as the amplitude envelope, it's also similar to the one shown in the lectures, and it's very much the same in terms of selecting the parameters as your filter. You can type in, you can click and drag, or you can just grab these points and move them around. That's a long release time there. So that is the simple controls of Retro Synth. There are many adjustments, other adjustments we can make on this synth, but we will leave those for another course. Thanks very much, everybody. All the best.